Okay, we're going to see a different type of sovereign citizen. He wouldn't call himself a sovereign citizen. Actually, I think he fancies himself some type of legal expert, especially on the issue of income tax. And his position is that the income tax does not apply to anybody who's living in the 50 states. The only people that have to apply, the income tax applies to, are those people who live in D.C., Washington, D.C., or some other federal territory, Puerto Rico or Guam, places like that, and that the only people that earn money that have to pay income tax on are people who are in the employment of the government. Now, that's his position. He thinks a U.S. citizen means that a U.S. citizen is only found in those places, D.C. and these federal areas, and that a trade or business that the income tax talks about is a government job, something where you're getting paid from the government. So that's his position. He'll go through the statutes and court cases, and he'll manipulate them and cherry pick them to the point to where he makes an argument and shows without a doubt that most people don't owe the income tax. So let's get started.
Who is required by law to file and pay U.S. income taxes? I will answer that question for you definitively tonight. My name is Payman Motahede. I'm the founder and president of Freedom Law School, which I found in 1996, educating American people about the U.S. Constitution, law, IRS, and your rights, and how to live free.
Now, this is kind of pompous, if you will. His website is called Freedom Law School, and his YouTube channel is called Freedom Law School. He fancies himself an attorney, as you can tell. Well, let's continue.
We're going to go down to the Internal Revenue Code 1040 booklet, their instructions, and the laws published by Congress, regulations of the IRS and Supreme Court to get the clear answer what the government says. So folks, here we're going to start. IRS.gov is where we want to start from. The IRS's website. That Form 1040 is used by U.S. taxpayers to file an annual income tax return. Now we go further and see the 1040 U.S. individual income tax return form for 2020, and we see the term U.S. Pay attention to the word U.S. And here's a 1040 instructions form for 2020, right? And we go down here on page 8 of instructions, and it says about filing requirements that these rules apply to all U.S. citizens regardless of where they live and resident aliens. Well, to find out.
Now, a normal, average person, how do you think they would interpret that? It's pretty clear. It applies to all U.S. citizens. Now, I think even my grandkids knows what a U.S. citizen is.
What these things are, let's go down to the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations, the interpretation of the law by the U.S. Treasury Department and the IRS. And we're going to go on to Regulation 1.1-1, which is income tax on individuals. And it says that Section 1 of the Internal Revenue Code, the tax laws, imposes an income tax on the income of every individual who is a citizen or resident of United States.
Now, like I said, what does the average person interpret that to mean? I mean, it's really obvious. Without coming up with some magical words or some convoluted theory, that is very simple, and laws are very simple and easy to understand.
A key term, and to the extent provided by Section 871 or 877B of the income of a non-resident alien individual. Okay, let's go down a little further. And to B, right? And in this regulation, B says citizens or residents of the United States liable to tax. In general, all citizens of the United States. That's a key term.
See, he's going to point out that he's making a big deal about United States. That's a key thing. That's what he's going to convolute for his victims.
Term, United States again, right? Wherever resident, wherever they may live, and all resident alien individuals, okay, are liable to the income tax imposed by the code, whether the income is received from sources within or without the United States. Well, we keep hearing the word United States. We have to go in the Internal Revenue Code and see what definition of it is. Here is the actual physical Internal Revenue Code, the federal tax laws as published by Congress in this tissue paper, thin paper, folks.
I always find it hilarious that internet pseudo-lawyers, they always bring out law books or code books to make it like, for some reason, that's a big deal. I have the book, therefore I'm knowledgeable. Rarely is that the case, and it's not the case here.
We're going to look up exactly what these key definitions mean and say. So here we go. I already looked up for you on the federal tax law 26, category 26 of section 7701, definitions of the, here we go, folks, from the Internal Revenue Code, chapter 79 on definitions. So as we go down further, what it tells us here, that when used in this title, what title? The Internal Revenue Code, right here in this book. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Okay, in this title, they define all these various terms. Okay, like we're going to go jump down.
Okay, let's go back for just a second here. You say where it says, where not otherwise distinctly expressed. So these definitions are used in this title, but not where it's otherwise distinctly expressed. In other words, there'll be some other definitions possibly in other sections of this Internal Revenue Code.
All these various terms. Okay, like we're going to go jump down to term United States. In A9, United States, the term United States, when used in the geographical sense, the only sense that we care to know, what is the geography of the United States, that keep being mentioned, right?
Now, here again, the average person, adult, who has good mental faculties, knows where and what is the geographical area of the United States. That's going to be something else he's going to convolute here, so let's get going.
Right? It includes only the states and the District of Columbia.
Now that's pretty self-explanatory for the average person. Includes only the states, and what are there? There's 50 of them, right? And the District of Columbia. That's the geographical area of the United States. That's pretty simple. And how he can make it so convoluted is amazing, and that people buy it.
And when we go down and look at the word state, it shall be construed to include the District of Columbia, where such construction is necessary to carry out the provisions of this title. So again, United States and state are both Washington, D.C.
What? You see, there it is. That his interpretation and reading of this is that it's only Washington, D.C. is the only United States. Believe it or not. Let's go back just for a second. I'll show you how silly this is. You see, it says the term United States, when used in a geographical sense, includes only the states and the District of Columbia. And then underneath that is the term state shall be construed to include the District of Columbia where such construction is necessary to carry out provisions of this title. So if in fact the term state meant District of Columbia, right above this, that would read to mean the term United States, when used in the geographical sense, includes only the District of Columbia and the District of Columbia. Now see how ridiculous and foolish that is? And people actually believe it and buy into it.
The District of Columbia, where such construction is necessary to carry out the provisions of this title. So again, United States and state are both Washington, D.C. Yes, my friends, that's what the law clearly shows. Another term to define is trade or business, which includes, believe it or not, the performance of functions of public office.
Okay, you see, if you're noticing, he is interpreting the term includes to exclude everything else. And so this definition of trade or business is limited to, that's the way he looks at includes, is limited to the performance of a function of a public office or a government employee. Let's continue.
Not someone doing a contractor business of your own in any shape or form. It's not about you. And the law that about imposition of tax, okay, 871B1 on non-resident alien individuals, is those who are engaged in a trade or business, federal government work within the United States during a taxable year, folks. These are the people that got to pay the federal income tax. Shall be taxable as provided in Section 155 on his taxable income, which is effectively connected with the conduct of a trade or business within the United States, which effectively conduct with the conduct of performing functions of federal public office. These are key definitions, folks. We got to go by them, my friends, okay? It's critical that we go by the definitions. He is Meese versus Keene, U.S. Supreme Court case 1987. We go down, it tells us it is axiomatic, obvious, self-evident that the statutory definition of this term excludes unstated meanings of that term.
Well, what he's doing here, he's cherry picking. He found one sentence that can back up his narrative. And this case had nothing to do with income tax. So this statement is being made in light of the issues in this case. And the issues in this case was about political propaganda. It had nothing to do with the income tax. Let's continue. But that's what these pseudo-lawyers do. They find a case that's totally irrelevant to their issue and find one sentence and pull it out and say, okay, that's law. It's in a court case, so that's law. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
So you don't see the word 50 states in the definition of state or United States. It's not in there. That's why. That's what this case means. And
so he's making a leap of logic here that just because somewhere, either in the code or somewhere else, it doesn't say 50 states. So anytime it doesn't say 50 states, it means only the District of Columbia. And as we saw in that last section, it would pervert a sentence that says that the geographic area of the United States is the District of Columbia and the District of Columbia. So we've already debunked that.
You cannot assume that it applies to 50 states because Gould versus Gould, a U.S. Supreme Court case of 1917, clearly said that in the understanding, interpretation of tax laws, statutes levying taxes, it is the established rule not to extend their provisions of tax laws by implication beyond the clear import of the language used or to enlarge their operations so as to embrace matters, tax matters, not specifically pointed out. And most importantly, in case of doubt, they are construed most strongly against the government and in favor of the citizen.
And that, of course, for the most part is true. The problem is this case that he's pulling that sentence out of was one about taxing alimony. And at the time that this was decided, alimony was not considered a taxable issue. So they were going beyond what was taxable at that time. It doesn't have anything to do with whether wages or salaries or the money that you earn. This had to do at the time with alimony that was not yet codified as being taxable. Let's continue.
Folks, boom, right there. These definitions are critical. And I'll show you one more thing. Look, when it comes to oil taxes, okay, here it is, definitions. When it comes to this, for purpose of this subchapter.
For the purposes of this chapter. That's very important language in statutes.
This subchapter is on tax on petroleum.
Well, now wait a minute. We're talking about income tax on wages and stuff like that the majority of people earn in America. So he's having to jump all the way to the tax on petroleum to cherry pick out something that will fit his narrative. Let's go continue.
For this particular chapter only of tax law, look, the defined United States means the 50 states, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, any possession of the United States, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands.
Okay, see, here because it says the 50 states, he's now going to take a leap in logic and says, see, when it doesn't say 50 states, it means District of Columbia. Ridiculous. I can't believe people buy into it.
Yes, the word 50 states here is on purpose and is not otherwise there on purpose. So you, my friend, the average American, is not required to file and pay income tax. Watch this presentation a couple of times. Watch the longer presentation link below in the description and it's coming up. Watch that for more detail. And what you want to do, folks, join us, write letters to Congress at Freedom Law School's website that we have, folks. Stop Income Taxes tab, Stop Individual Income Tax tab. You find there, here is the PDF, folks, of the fill-in-the-blank letter to write to Congress about justification for congressional investigation of income tax collection to stop this thievery. Here's the sample letters, fill in the blank, and everything that's quoted in these letters you see here, the laws are attached to it and highlighted just like I did for you right here, folks.
So he's basically saying, get one of these and send it to the government to show how stupid and ridiculous your thought processes are. But people buy into it. We'll go with him a little bit longer.
Be sure to watch the longer video for more detail about this issue, folks, because you, my friend, who lives in the 50 states, work for yourself, employee, or you're working for a state or local government, are not required to file income tax per the tax law.
And he totally believes that. And he is quite the salesman. This guy sells packages. And his most extravagant package will cost you $9,000 a year the first year. After that, it's $4,500 a year. And then he's got a lower level that maybe at $5,000. Then I think he's got a lower level at $1,400 or $1,500. But this is what he sells. He sells these big packages for this nonsense to get people to, buy his DVDs about how he teaches law and things like that. You should really go to his website, Freedom Law School, and see for yourself the kind of BS that this sells to people. It's absolutely amazing. Now what we're going to do, we're going to look at the word includes that he totally ignores, that is in those definitions that he first talks about. He just doesn't scroll down far enough so people can see it. Let's continue. Definitions that we all saw, and here's the two that he focused on this page. The term United States, when used in a geographical sense, and we know what geographical sense is, we know the territory, the geographic area of it, includes only the states and the District of Columbia. Oh, well, he says, what does states mean? Well, let's go over here. The term state shall be construed to include the District of Columbia. And then he kind of ignores that this is a limitation when that applies. But he says, oh, look at there, state means the District of Columbia. Well, now how silly that is if we take that definition, because he seems to be saying that include limits it to mean District of Columbia. But how silly that would be, it would make this read the term United States, and he focuses in on the United States, what it means, remember, when used in a geographical sense, includes only the District of Columbia and the District of Columbia. So we can see how silly that is. But I guess the people he's talking to can't grasp that. It's to say nothing of ignoring that it's a limit. This definition is limited. So let's go down to a definition that he doesn't want anybody to scroll down. Okay, let's go down here and see if I can find it again. The definition he doesn't want people to scroll down to, as it applies to includes and including. It says the terms includes and including, when used in a definition contained in this title, shall not be deemed to exclude other things otherwise within the meaning of the term. Like we've just seen with state there, he's trying to exclude the 50 states because it doesn't particularly say the 50 states. So he's limiting it to only meaning District of Columbia. So therefore the District of Columbia means the United States. And he did the same thing with trade or business. He said, trade or business includes working for the federal government. Well, he says he's interpreting it to mean it's limited to only to those who work for the federal government. So you can see why he doesn't scroll down. And you'd think, after being in quote-unquote business since '96, he would have at least one time scrolled down through the whole definitions and found this. And you can imagine that he probably did. But what internet pseudo-lawyers do, that do it for profit, who've never attended law school, they set up websites and YouTube channel that looks like a law office, law books behind them, and then they manipulate words and jump around and cherry pick to where the average person doesn't, if they're already in trouble with the IRS looking for help, or just are susceptible to believing things. This is a guy that will charge them up to $9,000, I guess it is, a year to protect them from the evil IRS because they don't have to pay because they're not federal employees. So this is a kind of, snake oil salesman or used car salesman type tactics of diversion and manipulating words and getting people who may be in dire straits to part with their money. And these are the type of internet lawyers that piss me off.